This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, we'll continue our discussion with this default constructor. Yesterday, I had just introduced you to default constructor, so which is successfully created by compiler after the compilation, after successful compilation. And the name of that constructor looks the same as the name of the class. In today's session, let us understand how to use this constructor. What is the purpose of this constructor? All right. Now, I'll start explaining this by writing certain the code. Okay, just observe this. I've just switched off my video here. Just observe, focus on the screen. So I have a class. Let's say I have a class called product class. This is going to be my class, and I save this program as product.java. So .java is an extension of my Java program, right? I compile this program, and after successful compilation, definitely we get the bytecode. The bytecode looks something like this. It's a class called product. All right, and there is going to be a default constructor in this, and that default constructor looks like this, right? Something is going to be present here. What is this something? You will understand after a process called chaining. After there is a concept in Java called inheritance. After inheritance, I teach you one more concept. At that time, I tell what is that something which is going to be present in this. Okay. Right now, don't worry about what is this something. All right. Something is going to be there. So basically, this is called default constructor. Okay. In the class name, we don't have parentheses, but in the constructor name, there is going to be parentheses, and it is case sensitive. Are you clear? If it is P is in uppercase, here also P is in uppercase. So you have to be careful with this. So this is how your program look like, and this is a bytecode. So class name is product, hence the extension of the program is .class. Right? Cool. Now, why this constructor is really useful. Now let's get into action. All right. Very important. So just listen to me. The second class, I think I introduced you to a concept called, in the second class, if I'm not wrong, I introduced you to a concept of object orientation, where I started explaining you what is the meaning of object, right? So what is the meaning of object? An object is a physical real world entity. I repeat, an object is a physical real world entity. So anything which is physically present, that is called as an object. I'll repeat, anything which is physically present, that is called as an object, correct? And if you look back the basics of physics, anything which is physically present, it consumes the space. As per the very basics of physics, I'll repeat, anything which is physically present that consumes space. So you take, for example, you have a toothbrush, okay? Toothbrush is physically present. You need space to keep the toothbrush, isn't it? Similarly, let's say you purchase a new bike. New bike is physically present, hence bike is an object, and that object really needs space to keep. You need to park that. For parking, you need the space, right? So you purchased a new refrigerator to your home, and you need space to keep that refrigerator, isn't it? Similarly, whenever we create the objects using a class, repeat, programmatically, when we create an object using the class, then I need the space that is nothing but memory. Are you clear now? We need memory. So this is my class. The purpose of creating a class is to create object. So now I'm going to create certain objects. If I really want to create the objects, and if I create an object, then I need the memory. I need the memory in which I can store this object. I hope everyone able to understand. So as like I compared this scenario with the physics, right? Anything which is physically present consumes space. It needs space. In the same way, in Java program or in any object-oriented programming languages, whenever you create an object, that object needs memory. Are you clear? So one of such memory area in Java is called as heap memory, right? One of the memory area is called as what? Heap memory. So you need not to, the advantage of Java is that you need not to worry much about the memory, okay? But you should know something basics about it, okay? So one of the memory area in Java is called heap memory or heap area. You can just call it as heap area, all right? So this is an area where the objects are stored. Now carefully observe. I have a class. Now the purpose of creation of class is to create the object. Now I must understand how to create an object, correct? I should learn it, how to create an object. For creation of object, we use this. Observe, we use this. What is this? Default constructor. So we use this default constructor to create an object. All right. So second thing, unlike C, in C programming language, what happens is C, many students, they felt C is difficult. I don't know. I also personally felt C is little difficult in my first semester of engineering because of XYZ reason. Okay, fine. Some reasons. I used to feel C was little difficult. Okay. And I observed that many students also felt C is difficult. So one of the reason why we felt difficult is because of pointer concept, right? So the pointer, you need to manage the memory, you need to basically allocate the memory, deallocate the memory. This concept was there. So that's the reason, that could be one of the reasons, right? That why we felt C is little difficult, right? So again, in Java, when I start talking about the same thing about memory management, many students or many people, they hate that. Oh, no, I'm not interested in memory management. Okay, the only reason of me coming to Java is like, to make it more simple. Otherwise, I would have learned C. So relax here. In Java, you need not to manage the memory. I'll repeat, in Java, you need not to manage the memory. Are you clear? You have to just concentrate on writing the programs. Memory is automatically managed by something called JVM. Please understand it. It's automatically managed by JVM, Java Virtual Machine. I'll repeat, in Java, as a developer, you have to concentrate only on the program, only on building the application, how to build the app. Are you clear? What logic, what color should I add, right? What is the business that I have to add, business logic that I have to add, right? Oh, you please concentrate only on writing the programs. Don't concentrate on memory, because memory is automatically managed by Java Virtual Machine, right? It's just like this, guys. Let's imagine that you have a marriage function at your family. Maybe one of your brother or sister's marriage is there. On the marriage, so do you or does your mom go to kitchen and start preparing the food for all the guests? Let's say 1,000 guests are coming for the marriage function. Does your mom go to kitchen and starts preparing the food for all these 1,000 people? Certainly no. You outsource this job to catering department, right? So some catering contractor. So you give this job to a catering contractor. So you just have to tell what is that you really want. It's a headache of that catering contractor. They should have good chefs or cooks to prepare this food, right? In the same way, here you have to outsource your work to JVM. You need not to worry. JVM will take care of memory management, right? I've just introduced that in Java, objects are stored in one of the memory area called heap area. Are you clear now? So, and that entire memory management in the sense creation of allocation of memory, deallocation of memory, how much memory to be allocated, when memory is not available, what has to be done, everything is taken care by JVM. So right now, you should not worry about the memory management. Are you clear? Now let's talk about how to create an object. But you should know one thing, you have to give instructions to JVM for creation of object. Imagine that JVM is there. Imagine that JVM is there. Now, when the JVM is there, it is capable of creation. It is capable of creating an object, but you have to tell JVM how to create an object. Otherwise, JVM cannot assume with the facts, right? So imagine that in my project, I have multiple classes. Okay, right now I have a class called product class. Similarly, I write multiple classes here. Okay, just observe, please. I'm going to write hundreds of classes. Okay, I have a class called student.class or student.java. Of course, after successful compilation, right, we're going to get student.class. This is one class. Similarly, I'm going to have one more, like, city.java. After successful compilation, what are we going to get? We're going to get city.class. This is, of course, after successful compilation, this is what we're going to get. Like that, imagine in my project, hundreds of classes are there, right? Hundreds of classes are there. Right now, for simplicity, I've written 3 classes. One is student.class, city.class, product.class. Okay, these are all the programs that I do have in my project. Okay, now imagine that now you would like to create an object. When you want to create an object, that memory has to be allocated for the object, because object is physically present, and anything which is physically present consumes the memory. So that memory is managed by JVM, correct? So now you have to talk to JVM. You have to tell JVM, and you have to give your instructions to JVM for creation of object. All right, now observe, I use a keyword for object creation. That keyword is new. I use a keyword called new. Please understand it. I'm using a keyword called new keyword. New is a keyword or a reserved word. And in Java language, new means it's an instruction to allocate the new memory. To allocate the new memory for an object. Now I need a memory to be allocated. So that instruction is passed to the JVM by using this keyword called new. Now, for time being, assume that you are JVM. Try to visualize you are JVM. You are not, your name is not the actual name that your parents have kept. From today, your name is JVM. From now, for another 5 minutes, your name is JVM. Okay. You understand now? In the message box, you have to, okay. Now in the message box, please message me. What's your name? Super. Your name is JVM. Good. Your all name is JVM. Okay. Someone has messaged me saying that, please switch on the camera. Okay, I switched on. It was hanging. Until now it was hanged. Okay, now it's working fine. Super. Everyone name is JVM. Now imagine I'm teaching Java to JVM only. Okay. Good. Cool. Your name is JVM. Now, see guys, especially in these trainings, visualization is very important. When you have a better visualization, you learn in a better way. Okay. So now you are JVM, and I have, let's say, 100 classes with me: product.class, student.class, teacher.class, laptop, mobile.class. So many programs I do have. 100 programs I do have. 100 classes. Okay. Now, since you are a JVM, I ask you, hey JVM, create an object. JVM, create an object. Now, what is that question you ask me back? So you being a JVM, what is that question that you ask me back? Type it in the chat window. What is that question you asked me back? Come on, fast. I have given you an instruction to create an object. I just come and tell you, hey, create an object. Now, what's that question? Yes, Nidhi, correct. Super. Now you should ask me a question saying that, hello boss, there are 100 classes are there. How many classes are there? 100 classes are there. Object of which class to be created? Object of which class to be created, because there are 100 class. You tell me clearly which class name. So for that class, I can create an object, because in our previous session, we learned it to create an object. What is required? Class, and without the class, we cannot create any object. Remember this, using a single class, we can create multiple objects. Are you all clear? So now you must give the class name for JVM to create an object. Are you clear? So now I don't give the class name, but I call this constructor because constructor name is same as the class name. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to call the constructor saying that new product, right? Observe this product, this constructor has this parenthesis. Never forget this. Hence, while calling also, you should call this by parenthesis and end this instruction. Every instruction must end with semicolon, okay? So you use the new keyword means you are telling JVM that you are instructing JVM to allocate the memory, Are you clear? Memory for which object? The product class. Are you clear? So now what does JVM do? Now JVM creates an object by allocating the memory. This is an object of which class? Product class. All right now, super. So now how many objects that I can create using the class? Hundreds, thousands. So multiple objects can be created using a single class. Now I want one more product object. You can just say new product. New product. So I've created one more object, right? One more new product. Likewise, I have created, you can create any number of objects. So right now I have created 3 objects. So new is an instruction for the JVM to create an object of which class? Product class. And random memory. This memory is not in your control, okay? This is very important. In Java, you cannot instruct JVM to create certain memory. Hey JVM, could you please create an object here? Here free space is there. Or else here, create an object here. No, this is randomly selected by JVM. You cannot interfere in memory management. And actually, in fact, it is really good that you need not to worry. Somehow JVM manages it, okay? So now in the heap area, product objects are created. How many product objects are created right now? Multiple product objects are created. Are you able to understand now? Super. So this is how we create an object. Now you can start using this object. Second question, how do I use this object? That's very important, okay? How do I use this object? That's very important. But here you should understand one thing. 3 days or 2 days before, I think, I explained you a situation or a scenario that object is a real world physical entity which has 2 things. Quickly tell me in the message box, what are those 2 things? What are those 2 things that an object has? Please, fast. I'm waiting for your answer. Fast, 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 fast. States and behaviors, states and behaviors, states and behaviors, correct? So every object must have states and behaviors, states and behaviors, states and behaviors. All right. Now, super cool. Stop, 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 stop. We understood. Stop. Thank you. Thank you for the response. We understood that every object has states and behaviors. It's not necessary. It's not a rule that every object must have a states. Depending on your requirement. If you want, you can have state. If you don't want, you don't have to have the state. Okay. It's up to you. Okay. But ideally, object has states and behaviors. That's a realistic fact. Now, with respect to program, now listen to me carefully. I'm going to introduce you to something, okay? With respect to program, every object has something called unique identity. I'll repeat, every object has something called unique identity. It's called object identity. Are you clear now? I'll repeat, every object has its own unique identity. I somewhere use some colors. Let's say I use this color. Every object has got object identity. I call it as OI. OI stands for object identity. This object identity is different for every different object. All right, it may not be the memory of that particular object because in Java, listen to me carefully, Java is little secured programming language. because you cannot access, you don't have an access to the memory of anything. I'll repeat, you don't have an access to the memory of certain things, okay? So every object has something called unique object identity, using which you're going to access that particular object. Are you clear now? Super. That unique identity is a hexadecimal number. I'll repeat, that unique identity of every, because in the heap area, I can have 1 crore objects. How many objects? 1 crore, 2 crore, 10 crore objects. I can have very huge objects, very huge number of objects that I can store in the heap area. Huge objects are stored in the heap area. Someone is talking now. Yushwan, please, like, put your mute yourself. Sorry. So, oh, where I was, I forgot. That's why I said that don't distract me in between. Okay, you can have huge number of objects in the heap area. So that's why to identify each object, you need to access an object by its unique identity, right? So now unique identity, that's unique object, unique identity is represented in the form of hexadecimal number. What is the meaning of this hexadecimal number? You all know, no, number, decimal number systems, hexadecimal number systems and all, right? We have some number systems. If I'm not wrong, I'll take you through this. Number systems. Observe here. Observe this. We have something called binary here. So binary means what? Bi means two. Bi means 2. Anything you represent 2, that is zeros and ones. 2 is represented by using zeros and ones. So that's what it is called as what? This is an example. So this is called binary. Similarly, octal. What is the meaning of octal? Octa means 8. Right? 8 means what? Anything that is represented from 0 to 7, that's called octal number system. Okay, so observe here, everything has been represented in 0 to 7. Similarly, decimal means 10. Deci means how much? 10. Okay, I'm representing it by in the form of 0 to 9. So observe here, this is just an example. Everything is represented in the form of zeros and nines. Okay, similarly, hexadecimal means how much? 16. Right, 16 means 0 to 9. When I say 0 to 9, 0 to 9 is only 10. So out of 16, 10 is covered. 10 is represented by 0 to 9. Still 6 is left. That is represented by A to F. A, B, C, D, E, F, 6. So 0 to 9 is 10. A to F is 16. So, sorry, 6. So 10 plus 6 is 16. So that is called hexadecimal number system. So this is an example. So observe here, we have 0 to 9 and A to F, right? You should not represent it more than F, okay? So this is called hexadecimal number system. So now why am I talking about it? Very simple. Here, the object identity is represented in hexadecimal number system, right? For example, just a rough, I mean, this is not in my control, okay? Assume that the object identity here is, let's say, 36D0A. I'm assuming this. I'm telling you, it's not in your control. JVM decides it. You just have to only assume it. Okay, I'm assuming that this is something like 77D3B. And I'm assuming that this is, let's say, 54A. Okay, B9. I'm assuming this. Okay, this is how object identity is represented as, right? So with respect to real world, object has states and behaviors. With respect to program, object has two things. What are the two? So three things. One is called state, another one is behavior, the third one is called object identity. And object identity is represented in hexadecimal format, which is very important. Out of So many number of objects. Each object is represented by its object identity. All right, this is also a data. I hope now you got it. All right, any questions? Just go through this for just go through this for 10 seconds to 20 seconds. Go through this, and if you have any questions, you can ask me, okay? Any number, there is no limitations of it. Yes, Dandu, it's automatically created. So, okay. Chandani Singh. Nothing, Chandani. See, every object out of many, everything should have its own unique identity, correct? In India, 130 crores of people are there. So how will you identify each and every person? Probably you would go by their PAN number, right? PAN number is something which is unique for each every human, right? In the same way, every object has one PAN number, for example. That PAN number is called as object identity. It's that simple, okay? Okay, Shubhankar, I understand your request. I'll value your request. It is automatically updated. It is not, there is no human is required to upload this video, all right? So basically, as and when I finish the session, hardly it takes 15 minutes to convert that video. Within 15 minutes, that video is automatically will be there, okay? Don't think that some person like, you know, an admin sits there and upload the video. No, it automatically happens, it, right, Shubhankar? Chandini Singh, hexadecimal number system, decimal number system was there in probably high school, if I'm not wrong. Number system, it is something like number system, Mama. No, Nandini is asking what is the reason? Nothing. We can represent more numbers in hexadecimal system. That's all. Rahul, you need to understand one thing. Objects will not have name. Please understand, object will not have name, right? So imagine in your house you have three vehicles. One is yours, one is your father, one is your mom, okay, or your brother. So object cannot have something called the name. What is the name of this object? There is nothing called name. What is the name of the shirt? There is no name. It is what type of object? Digital pen object. What is this type of object? It's a shirt object. So object has type, but object cannot have name, okay? Hmm? The Rahul, understand it. Next, Vikas Chaurasia is asking, SP, what is the meaning of SP? States and behaviors. States and behaviors. I represented in a shortcut way. The memory of the heap, it depends on virtual machine implementation. It depends on virtual machine to virtual machine. The algorithms used in the virtual machine. IBM has their own virtual machine, so it works in a different way when compared to the Sun Microsystem or Oracle virtual machine. It depends, okay? So you should not worry much about memory right now. If you are from C background, come out of that hangover. I'll repeat once again, if you're from C or C++ background, come out of the hangover. You're still in the hangover of memory, bytes, right? Come out of that hangover. Here, we don't care about memory. Let's imagine you're developing an Android application. You should focus only on your development of Android application. Rather, you should not focus on how much memory it is consuming. All right. Hey, Mr. Amit, mute your microphone. Are you a small kid? Do you expect me to tell every time? Anyone has any questions, please? Okay, thank you very much. Now, I'll give you one more example. Same example, but I'll give you one more example, okay, for better understanding. Now think about it. I mute this camera. Now I'm going to create a class. Let's say I create a class. I create one class. What is the class? Let's say my class name is mobile. This is my mobile class. Similarly, I create one more class called as job. In job portal, right? In job portal like naukri.com or timesjob.com or whatever it is, right? Each job posting is considered as an object. Similarly, I'm going to create one more object here. Let's say that object is let's say user. You are one of the user in banking application. All right. So now onwards, I probably may not write every time the constructor. You should know how does the constructor look like. Can I say there is one default constructor here, one default constructor here, one default constructor here, right? So automatically every class comes with one default constructor, right? So these are all the default constructors. You should understand it now. The moment when I write it, this is default constructor, this is default constructor, this is default constructor, right? Just for your understanding, I write only one default constructor here. How does it look like? User. This is how it looked like. So now you should know how does this look like. Job with parenthesis, mobile with parenthesis. Are you clear now? This is only an example. Cool. Now these are all the default constructors along with its class. Okay. Now I want to create one object of the job class. I'll repeat now. I want to create an object of one job posting, which is there in the, all right, job. I call it as job post only, okay, not job. I'll call it as job post. One job post. Now I want to create an object of one job post. How would you create an object of job post? You must use a keyword called new job post. All right. Now I ask one question. You have to answer me in the chat window. What is this? What is this? Answer me in the chat window. What is it? Constructor. Perfectly correct. Super. This is called constructor. Are you clear now? What is this called as? Constructor. This is called constructor. This is a constructor. So basically, every class is a constructor, and we are calling that constructor. Okay, this is precisely called as constructor call, or you are invoking a constructor. You are invoking, you know English meaning of invoking, right? You are invoking or you are calling a constructor. All right, you're calling the constructor. How? By using this new keyword. This is a keyword, okay? You are calling the constructor, but observe now, here you must use this semicolon. This is the way to call the constructor. So the moment you call the constructor using new keyword, then an object gets created, and an objects are created in which area? In the heap area, right? Who creates this object? Objects are created by whom? Objects are automatically created by JVM. Do you need to really worry about it? Certainly no. We need not to worry much about it because it is created and managed by JVM. Now, how JVM creates an object here? JVM creates one object. What are the contents of the object? Object has one unique identity. I'll repeat, object has one unique identity. Along with that, the object has states and object has states and behaviors. Someone is asking, what is the meaning of SB, sir? S means states, B means behavior. It's an object of which class? Job post. It's an object of job post. And each object has one unique identity, which is represented in which format? Hexadecimal format. Hexadecimal means what? A to F and 0 to 9. 0 to 10, 9 means 10. Okay. A to F means A, B, C, D, E, F, 6. 6 plus 10 is how much? 16. Hexadecimal means 16. So anything that you are representing in A to F format and 0 to 9 format, that's an example of hexadecimal format. So object identity is represented in this hexadecimal format. So I'm going to write it here. Let's say I'm assuming, again I'm telling you, I'm going with an assumption because this is not in our hand, so I cannot tell how much it is. Just I'm assuming that it is 133B7. I'm assuming that this is a hexadecimal number for this. Are you clear? Cool. Now I want to create an object of this user. There is a user class. No, I want to create an object of this user. How would you create an object of user? You have to use the new keyword. What does new keyword do? New keyword is an instruction for JVM. It's a keyword means what? Predefined word. Predefined word which has meaning in the programming language. So new is a keyword which has got some meaning in the programming language. You use that new keyword and call the constructor. How do we call that constructor? This is how we call the constructor. Are you clear? This is the way to call. If someone asks what are the way to call the constructor, you must say constructor is called by using this new keyword. By using this new keyword, we are invoking or calling a constructor. So having a constructor is different from calling a constructor. It's like having a constructor is like this. There is a dog. Dog is there on its own. Calling the constructor means you're calling the dog. You're calling that dog. Now the dog comes. The same way you're just calling this particular constructor. The moment you're calling the constructor, it is a way to instruct JVM. Now what does the JVM do? Beautifully, JVM is going to create an object here. JVM creates one object, right? Object of which class right now? User class. Object of user class. What will be there? States will be there, behaviors will be there, and also object identity, unique object identity. I'm assuming that unique object identity is 90C 30F. I'm assuming that it's not in your hand, it is automatically decided by JVM, right? So where these objects are stored? In the heap area. Don't forget that the objects are stored in the heap area. All right. Just go through this. Just go through this. Again, I'm going to pause myself for 10 seconds. You can go through this, okay? Okay. If you have any question, ask me. Otherwise, just say super, sir. I'll go ahead then. Yes, someone is yes. Object identity is always a hexadecimal number. Thank you. Someone here asked me something. Okay, Arun Gowda, it could have been an octal or decimal, but we can represent more numbers in case of this hexadecimal, right? Imagine Arun Gowda, I will give you an example. You know this vehicle numbers? If you observe, the vehicle numbers are like this. KA, your name is Gowda. Since can I assume that you are from Hassan or from Mandya? If you are from Hassan, it starts from KA 13. If you are from Mandya, it starts with something called KA 11, right? So why, my question is that why it has to be represented like this? They could have given simply one number, no? So in overall in India, you have crores of vehicle. Since there are crores and crores of vehicle, each vehicle should have one unique number. Are you clear? Since each number is unique, it is very difficult if you start representing everything just in by number, right? If it was just a number from 0 to 9, it would have been very difficult to represent the vehicles because the number of vehicles are more. That's why they included this. It's very easy to identify objects. Right here they say KA stands for Karnataka. If it is a Delhi vehicle, DL. If it's a Haryana, HR. If it is Odisha, OD. So like this, it's a character. Okay, along with that, for each and every RTO they give one number. So this is the easy way to represent a huge number. That's why here also they use that formula, or here also they use that strategy. Someone has asked a question there. What is the difference between constructor and default constructor? See, basically, there are types of constructor. Constructor is always a constructor. There are two types of constructors. Okay, one is called default constructor. Another one is called custom constructor. All right. So default constructor is something which is automatically created. If you don't want that automatic, there's an option that you can also create your own. I'll repeat, the default constructor is the one which is automatically created by compiler. If you don't want that automatic, you also create one. That's also possible. All right. No, Dandu, object identity is a value of class name. No, no, no. It is only a hexadecimal value. It's nothing to do with the class name. Anushri asking a very simple and silly question. What is the difference between constructor and object? Anushri, I have a question for you. Listen, what is the difference between food and energy? What is the difference between food and energy? So food is an entity. You consume food, you get an energy, correct? No? In the same way, constructor is one entity. You call the constructor so that object is created. A repair object is an something which is created using constructor. You can say constructor is like a juice maker and the object is like a juice. You use the juice maker and prepare the juice, right? In the same way. I have muted my video. I have only enabled this screen share right now. Yes, Abhishek, you are perfectly correct. The use of this new keyword is to invoke the constructor, call the constructor, as well as to instruct JVM to allocate some specific memory. Yes, perfectly correct. Vikram Singh, see, default constructor you cannot edit, but you can create your own constructor and do whatever you want with that constructor, Vikram. It's possible. So you can create your own constructor and you can deal with that constructor. Okay, such constructor is called as custom or user defined constructor. Some people also call it as parameterized constructor. Let us not talk about that right now. Let us be happy with what is being automatically given to us. Let us not think about how to create our own. Okay, we will see how to create our own in the later stage. Any more questions, please? Mia Malkova, How do we use this constructor? This is the way to use. You call it by new keyword, that's a way to use it. Rahul, we use that semicolon whenever you invoke something. That's an structure of the program. That's a syntax of Java program, that whenever you invoke something, at the end you should use that semicolon. Here, Tarun Bhaskar has asked a question. Where do we use this object identity? Oh, great. Super. That's what I'm going to teach you now. Right. So I'm going to teach you now. Kiran Babu, basically, yes, there is a way to modify this object identity. We will talk about that in a separate chapter called hash code and hashing. Okay, Kiran Babu. Ritvik, did I teach you int right now? New keyword is used only to call the constructor. You cannot simply use like wherever you want. I have not taught anything about int, okay? Ask, and your question should be precise to the context of what is being taught, okay? No problem. Need not to be sorry. I'm just reminding you it, okay? So I think we are good to go ahead. I'm going to continue my discussion. All right. Now observe. Everyone observe, guys. Please focus here. Now imagine, visualize again, okay? When I talk, this imagination should come to mind. Now you have a kite. You have a kite, okay? I think North Indians, you play with this kite in one festival. I don't know in which festival. So you use patang udate hai na? There is some festival, I don't know. In that festival, most of these North Indians, yeah, which is it? Khichdi, Makar Sankranti, correct? Makar Sankranti, correct. I have now turned off I have turned off my, guys, listen, I have turned off the screen sharing because I'm talking now. You have to concentrate on me now, okay? Yes, 14th Jan, Makar Sankranti. I understand Makar Sankranti means enough, okay? In Makar Sankranti, you are playing, let's say, the kite. Now imagine that kite is there. So you have a kite, okay? Now you are playing beautifully with the kite. So what is required to control that kite? So many kites are there on the space. Hundreds of kites are there on the space, okay? Hundreds. Let's say if there's a big, very big field, okay, or very open ground, hundreds of your friends and a lot of people are there, right? A lot of people are there. Ah, manja, manja, yes. Right? So many kites are there on the space. So you need that thread to control that kite, correct? No? Yes or no? Right? In the same way, here also, whenever you create multiple objects, all these multiple objects are there in the space called heap memory. Heap memory is a big space. In the heap memory, hundreds, thousands, crores of objects are there, millions of objects are there in the heap memory. So how do you control that? By using that thread. By using that thread. Are you clear now? So now very important, whenever you want to access any object which is there in the heap memory, hundreds of objects are there in the heap memory. So if you want to access any object which is present in the heap memory, you need a thread. That is, how do you uniquely identify an object? By using object identity, correct? So you need that object identity. Are you clear? So that's why whenever you create an object, I tell you, better you keep that object identity with you so that whenever you want that object, you can use that object identity, go to that object identity, deal with that object. Are you clear? Otherwise, you will lose the control over an object. It becomes Chandrayaan. Right? In the Chandrayaan, they are already launched that rocket. It was there. Finally, they lost the control over it. Right? No one knew where it is. In the same way, whenever you create hundreds of objects here, Very important, whenever you create hundreds and thousands of objects in the heap memory, right? These are all the objects which are created in the heap memory. So very important is that you need to have an access. If you want to access this particular object, listen to me very carefully, listen to me. If you want to really access this object which is present here, and similarly, if you want to access this object which is present here, what is required? Object identity is required, correct? So object identity must be stored. You must store the object identity with you. Are you clear now? Listen to me carefully. Somewhere you need to store that object identity. All right. So now I create one bucket in which I create this object, I store this object identity. So what is this object identity? 133B7. Here, what is object identity? 90C 30F. This is an object identity, right? So if you want an object, nothing but a kite. This is a patang. कितना पतंग है मेरे पास? इधर दो पतंग है. So इसको कंट्रोल करने के लिए क्या चाहिए? I need this object identity. That's why it is my responsibility to store this object identity. This person who stores this object identity, it is like a bucket in which you are storing the object identity. This is called as a reference. Are you clear? What is this called as? Reference. Some precisely a better word is object reference. All right. So if someone asks what is object reference is a container storage. Are you clear? Container storage data holder. Observe the word data holder. Data holder means something which holds the data. Listen to me carefully. Don't be distracted. Okay. Don't be busy in that questions and ping box. Okay. Observe here. Right. Guys, I want everyone to focus here. Forget about that chat window. You close the chat window. Okay. Now observe. So what is data holder? As the English name itself indicate, what is the meaning of data holder? Something which holds the data. You know, coffee holder, you have a cup and saucer. What does that cup do? Cup is going to store some coffee, tea, juice, right? So glass, what does this glass store? This glass can store many things. It can be whiskey or anything, right? Similarly, I have something called data holder that holds or stores the data, right? What is the data here? The data is that object identity. That object identity is data. I need to store that data. That is stored in something called object reference, or simply a reference. Some people call it as object reference, and some people do call that as only reference. So if someone asks what is the meaning of that reference or object reference, it is a data holder. It's a data holder which stores the data. What data it does it store? It stores object identity. Clear? Now you need to know one thing which is something special about this object reference. Whenever you define an object reference, whenever you create this object reference, just hold on, observe now. Whenever you create an object reference, this is one object reference, okay? I create an object reference. What does it store? It stores an object identity. Isn't it correct? It is going to store what? It's going to store object identity. When it stores an object identity, it's very important. Listen to me carefully. This is very important. It's very important that you should also mention what is the object identity. It's an hexadecimal number, correct? No, but here this object identity simply does not store all the object identities. I'll repeat, this is called object reference, or simply the reference. Okay, from now I'm going to call it as only reference. Please observe. I'm going to just call it as reference, like how you call the principal as Princey, no? Similarly, I'm going to call this as object reference, or object reference as only the reference. Okay. Please observe. Whenever you have this a reference is basically stores the object identity, which is nothing but a hexadecimal number. Correct? Now, please focus. What does it do? It stores the hexadecimal number, but it cannot store simply all the hexadecimal number. It has a system to do it. For example, simple example, okay, what do you eat? You eat food. I also eat food. Chinese also eat food, but it does not mean that everyone simply eat all the food. Now, do you eat bats? Do you eat bats? Do you eat pig? Do you eat cockroaches? No. Everyone has their own food style, correct? No. I don't eat non-veg, but some people they eat non-veg. Some people, oh, this dog, what does this dog eat? That dog eats all the shit, right? So, in the same way, right? Like humans, every human may not eat all the food. In the same way, every reference may not store all the hexadecimal numbers. Are you clear? Now, very important is you should mention that, hey, reference, you store only, listen to me carefully. Hey, reference, you store only object identity of which object? For all the objects which are created from a class called product. Cool. Now, observe now, this object identity stores only the hexadecimal value, nothing but object identities of the which object? Product class object. So this is a class name. Listen, this is a class name. This is a class name. So this reference can store only the object identities of which class object? Product class object. Now, similarly, I have one class called student class. Listen now, I have a class called student class. If you want to store, you created some student object. Okay, listen to me now. I'm going to create that some student object. Okay, I'm going to create a student object. How do I create a student object? New student. New student. Now what is this new student says? New student, it's like this. Okay, observe. New is a keyword, student is a constructor, so I'm calling, using the new keyword, I'm calling the constructor. What happens when you create when you call a constructor using the new keyword? JVM is going to create an object in the heap area, right? Tac. JVM is creating an object of which class? Student class. Right? What is an object identity? 1, 2, 3b 7d. Let's assume this is an object identity, which is nothing but, so this object identity must be stored in a reference. This object identity must be stored in reference. That reference, I just assign this. Observe here, I just assign this. This is called assignment operator. We all know basics mathematics. This is called assignment operator. Now you should assign it into a reference. I call it as, you can keep whatever the name you want for this reference, S1. Now what is S1? What is S1? S1 is called reference. What is reference? Reference is nothing but, observe, reference is nothing but data holder. So now I have a data holder called S1. Observe, I have a data holder called S1. So this S1 is a reference or a data holder which holds what? It stores what? It stores the object identity. Now tell me, what is the object identity here? 1, 2, 3, B, 7, D. Are you clear now? It stores what? The object identity. But very important, it cannot store object identity of product class. It can store object identities of which class? Student class. So remember, whenever you create a reference, you must mention the class name. This is technically called as, observe, this is technically called as reference type. This is little confusing. Please observe. This is called as what? Reference type. Type of the reference. What type of object identities it can store? It can store object identities. This object identity of which class? Only student class, right? Sorry, you may have some other objects, like for example, in the heap area, you may have different objects. You may have an object of product class. Okay, this is, for example, 70DA. Let's say the object identity is 70DA, right? And you may have student object here. Just sir, you may have one more object called, okay, not student here, something else. You know, I'll consider it as mobile. You may have an object of mobile class. Please be focused, okay? Don't give up. Some students I find, I have found some students in my experience, at least I have taught more than 3 lakh people now. Out of that, some students, once they don't understand, they easily give up. तो मेरे से नहीं होगा यार. No, never give up. Never ever give up, okay? Certain things are there which you don't understand in the first shot. It's not like that. In one shot, I understand. No, some students are there, they are very clever, they understand in one example. There are some students who understand in the second or third example. For some students they need 5 example. It depends on their mindset, okay? Right? Never give up, never give up. It's like this. Okay, this is called will. You are okay, fine. I'll get into different talk now. Okay, I'll come back to that, how to increase your willpower. There is a mechanism to improve your willpower. I'll come back to that little later, not now. Let's stick on to this concept now. All right, so now how many objects are there in the heap memory? 3 objects are there. One is product object, one is student object, one is mobile object. Listen to me carefully. One is product object, one is student object, one is mobile object. We do have 3 objects in the heap area, and each object has unique identity. The product object unique identity is 70 DA. If you observe, you could see this. And what is the unique identity of this mobile object? Let's say mobile object unique identity is this, okay? 511CF. Let's assume that's an unique identity of it. Now, when you create this S1, in the S1, you cannot store, here is a S1, nothing but a data holder reference, right? This reference, okay, I write it here. This is a reference. This reference, what is the type of reference? Reference name is S1. What is the type of reference? Student. This reference can store, listen to me carefully, this reference can store only unique identity of a student object. Are you clear now? It cannot store this one. It cannot store this. It cannot store this, because every object has its own identity, unique identity. So it does not mean that you can store it in all the reference. So how are you going to store this then? You want to store this product object, then how are you going to store? Right? Product P equal to when you say new product, observe new product. So what is new product? This is an instruction for object creation, correct? What is this? Reference. What is the reference type? Very important. What is the reference type? What is the reference type? Is product. Yes, this reference called P can store object identities of product. Similarly, what is an instructions for this? Mobile M equal to new mobile. New mobile. So what is M? Reference. What is new mobile? New is a keyword, mobile is a constructor. You're calling new by constructor, and object gets created. That object is going to be assigned to whom? That object identity is going to be assigned to M. What is M? Reference. What is a reference type? Mobile. So M is a reference, nothing but a data holder, which is capable of storing object identities of mobile class. That's all it is. That's the meaning of it. Okay. So now I'm going to tell you the entire syntax. So entire syntax of this program, okay, which is this, right? Reference type, nothing but, this reference type is nothing but class name, okay? Reference type is nothing but class name. Then reference name can be anything, equal to, this is called assignment operator. Then you have to use this new keyword. When you use this new keyword, then you should call the constructor. So guys, this is how it look like, okay? So for example, now you have the mobile object. Then how do you do it? So this is how class name is mobile. Reference is, I call it as M1, equal to new keyword, I call the mobile constructor. So now please observe one thing carefully. Here there is a parenthesis because this is constructor. Here there is no parenthesis because it's a class name. Are you able to understand now? This is a class name. This is not a constructor. This is only class name, right? Now what is M1? Come on, tell me in the chat window. Tell me what is M1? Precisely your answer. What is M1? Ask me what. Tell me what is M1? Reference. Super. What is mobile? What is left side mobile? M1 is a reference. What is left side mobile? This is left side mobile. Reference type. Don't forget to use this. These are all technical terminologies. You're right. Never forget reference type. Reference type equal to assignment operator. What is new? What is new? Come on, tell me what is new. Super keyword. Super. What this new mobile with parenthesis? What is this? Mobile with parenthesis. Come on. Constructor. Yes. Super. Okay. This is the format. This is the syntax. This is the format. Okay. For example, there is a student class. How would you create a student object? This is how student as you give any name equal to new student. All right. So, all right. So now what is this constructor? Student with parenthesis is a constructor. Of course, you have to end that with semicolon. New is a keyword. Assignment operator. What is yes? Reference. What is student? Reference type. Reference type. What is okay? Now here is an interview question. What is the type of M1? You should say type of M1. Type of M1 is mobile. What is the type of S? Student. What is the type of S? Student. S is a reference of type student. M1 is a reference of type mobile. All right. Similarly, let's say one more last example. Okay. Now I want one more object to be created from the same student class. I can do it now. Like observe student S2 equal to new student. Now how many objects are created now? Second object, right? S2 is a reference. What is the type of S2? Student. What is new? Keyword. What is this? Assignment operator. What is this? Constructor. Are you clear? Now, next, one more question. Sir, can I give any name for that reference? Here, M1, S, S2. Can I give any name? Yes, you can give any name that you want, you can give, but follow the identifier rule. What are the 4 identifier rules that you need to follow? It should not be a Java keyword. It should not start with a number. It should not have any special characters apart from underscore and dollar. And what is that? One more rule. It should not have space. If you follow these 4 rules, enough, you can give any name. For example, just an example, okay? There is a class called product class. Now I'm going to create an object out of that. Observe now, product underscore p1 equal to new product. Perfectly correct. Okay. Now another one, product p underscore 1 equal to new product. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. Follow the standard for identifier rules. Got it now? That's it. Now remember, whenever you create an object has a unique identity. So you have to store that unique identity. That unique identity is stored in a reference. Each reference should have type. A reference cannot be there without a type. All right, a reference cannot be there without a type. So every reference must have the type. All right, so this is the funda. Cool. Good guys, good. I hope somewhat you're feeling more comfortable. I believe, I assume, irrespective of civil, mechanical, chemical, mining, biomedical, biogas, whatever it is, this is simple common sense. Okay, to understand this you need interest, first thing. Second thing, you need to have patience, right? Third thing, concentration and the focus. Cool. Good. I'm just observing that anyone asked me any question here. Yes, Pooja. Correct, Pooja. No, Anushri, can reference name be saved for 2 classes in the same? No, no, Pooja. No. The name of object reference in one program, listen to me carefully. In a program, your object references should have different name. No matter, I cannot say mobile M1 equal to new mobile, student M1 equal to new student, because already M1 is present. So you cannot keep the same name. It again, the answer is a vague question, Pooja. It depends on something called scopes. Listen to me, Pooja. This depends on a concept called scope, which I have not yet introduced you to. Okay, when I introduce you to a concept called scope, you will understand in a better way. So, Pooja, just to at the high level to answer your question, listen to me carefully. Let's say there is one house. Pooja, listen. There is one house. In this house, there is one person. There is another person. Okay, this is one. There is one more house, separate house, maybe in your area or some other place. So here is also one person. Right now, observe this person name can be Pooja. This person name also can be Pooja. But usually this person name, we don't keep it as Pooja because they are present in the same house. They're present in the same house usually. The people with a different house, possibility that we can keep it the same name. So this is called scoping, scope. What do we call it? This concept as scope. So once you understand this concept scope, you will understand in a better way. Right now, to avoid the confusion, better you keep different names. I think I answered you guys. Yes, Sama. Mia Khalifa. Mia Khalifa. Yes, the reference type must always be same as the constructor as of now. As of now, yes. But in future, it can be little different. In future, it can be little different. That concept is called upcasting. That concept is upcasting. That time you'll understand. Mia. Okay. Mia asked me a question. Reference type should always be same as constructor. It means to say, she asked me this question. People who have not understood her question, she asked me a question that, sir, this and this, should it be same? Right now, yes. Sir, this and this, should it be same? Right now, yes. In future, it can be different. At that time, let us understand. Okay. Very good. No, a reference is not stored in a constructor. Hey, Shivkumar, you're really creating nonsense and creating the problem. Why do you unmute every time? Once you muted, no, keep it in muting stage only. Why do you unmute every time? Please don't do that. I'm trying to read everyone's question and answering, okay? Dando, at the end, you should use parenthesis. Dando at the end, class 1, C equal to new class 1, you should use parenthesis, okay? Mr. Akshay Kumar is asking me a question. Sir, may I know the reason behind starting this course with OOPS concept? What else should have been started, Mr. Akshay? You tell me what should have been started. Yes, Shubh Kumar, 100% correct. Your answer 100% correct. It is a blueprint and also it is a type. Perfectly correct. Yes, Aman, you can use a parameterized constructor. That is a separate chapter. Let's not discuss that today. Okay, Kiran Babu is asking me one very good question, sir. Then where is this reference stored? Where this reference is stored? Reference is stored depends on where are you creating the reference. Okay, where are you creating the reference? Kiran, it depends on where are you creating that reference. Are you creating within a method? Are you creating within the class? Depending on that, it gets stored. Okay, again, that's another topic. Akshay has not answered my question. Akshay has asked me one question, but I asked him one question, but for that he has not answered. Akshay has asked a question. May I know the reason of behind starting this course with OOPS concept? Now I asked him a question that what else should have been taught? What else should have been covered? No, okay, Akshay, listen. Every teacher has their own flow of teaching. Please understand, Akshay. Every teacher has their own flow of teaching some concept. Okay, I don't criticize or I don't comment on anyone. I have my own flow of teaching. My usually I teach in a very sensible way because listen now, listen carefully. I have I had found a lot of difficulty while learning programming language when I was a fresher like you guys. At least when I started learning about this Java in my seventh standard, and I have not studied C. C was there as an officially one programming language in my academics, but I found it to be very difficult in my first semester. I got failed also in C language first semester. Second semester somehow I got within 40 only, just for passing marks I got. Somehow I passed in C. But from then I had a kind of imagination about C, that C is some difficult subject. But actually programming languages are not difficult, provided you should learn in a better way. Then I'm since I, as like most of you guys know that I'm from mechanical, I started like I started learning Java in my seventh semester. Then onwards, I felt Java is also a little difficult. Okay, somehow I learned it over the period of time. I learned it, and I started working on the job on the project. Over the period of time, I learned more and more Java. So I started learning. I know what is the difficulty of learning. Not only that, when I started working, I know the difficulty of implementing your knowledge in the project also. Are you clear? Now listen. After that, when I started teaching, when I started JSPDS in 2010, I was only one teacher who used to teach this. Now I found my own way of or methodology to teach also. So now I have three things in my mind. I know what are the difficult from your perspective. Being a student of non-IT, how it is difficult to learn a programming language is there in my mind. So as a software engineer, how much knowledge you require to implement in a project, that is also there. As a teacher, what is the sequence in which I should teach, that is also there. With the combination or with the blend of three things, I found out my own methodology of teaching. Like other teachers, I don't go with the basics like int type, double D, or data type, all right, or custom data type, non-primitive data type, memory, array, for, if, and all. So that is some typically some teachers follow. I follow my own methodology. Okay. See, Java I learned in few months, okay? But to become an expert, it takes a lot of time because subject is very vast, okay? Subject is very vast. You learn the things only when you start working on it. It is not like by learning you come to know everything. When you start really working, then only you come to know many things, okay? Yes, M and O is asking mandatory to have class name and the reference type to be same. Yes, Amma, because class name itself is the reference type. MNO class name itself is the reference type, to have to be same. Let's imagine there is a listen now. There is a, listen. There is a dance master who is dancing for students. Okay. Now for that, one of the students is the dance master son or a daughter, dance master's child. So for that child now, dance master, so-called master and so-called father, both are same. Coronavirus, Aman Kumar, when will hiring be there if coronavirus will end? It's a vague question, Aman. It depends. It's a little late, okay. Okay, Renuka is asking me a question. Sir, I understood how to create an object, but how, my doubt is, how can I know that object is really created? Now listen, everyone. This is one literally, it's a decent question, okay? Shubham Kumar, I'll teach you as a separate day, one more day, how to improve your willpower. how to achieve, or I have a best methodology to improve the willpower in just 21 days. You may ask me question, why 21? 21 is a very precious number. There is a connection between subconscious mind and conscious mind. That 21, if not sometimes 21, it takes 48. These two numbers are magic number, either 21 or 48. That's why if you observe in most of the rituals, they follow this 21 days practice or 48 days practice. Okay, I'll come back to that in a little later stage. Let me stick on to Java now. Here is one wonderful yet simple question asked by one of the student. I forgot what is that question. How do I know that object is really created? Now observe here. This I love this type of questions. Okay, super question. Just observe. I create a class. I create a class called as pen. Cool. So obviously, one something is there. Now you guys have to ping and tell me what is this star. What is that star? You have to tell me now, okay? You have to tell me what is it, okay? Now this answer, I'm expecting the answer from you. So now what do I do? Let's say I create an object out of this, like this pen p equal to new pen. So new is a keyword which indicates JVM to create an object. So JVM is going to create an object. 10C, to put it in a very simple way, assume that 10C is an object identity. It's an object of which class? Pen class. What is P? P is a reference. P is a reference. What is P? P is a reference. Correct? What does P store? P stores the object identity 10C. That's why we call it as data holder. So it is holding the data, hence, and that is the reason it's going to point to this particular object. Now, how do I really know object is created? Sir, you are writing diagram, I can understand, but what guarantee that object is created? What you're supposed to do is you should print P. There is a print statement in Java. How to print, I'll teach you in Monday class. In the print statement, when you print P, listen now, the person who has asked this question, and this is for everyone. If a really object is created, if an object is really created, listen to me carefully. If an object is really created, then it prints one message. What is that message that it prints? Class name, pen. What is the class name? Pen @ 10C. It says, hey, one object is created. Which object? Object of pen class. Where? At 10C. That's an object identity. It prints this message in your program. All right. So how to print? Let's see on Monday class. Okay. By chance, if object is not created, it prints null. If object is not created, then it prints null in lowercase. Are you clear? This is the way to check whether the object is really created or not. Right? Super good. Okay, Rajesh Kumar, one girl has asked me a question saying that, sir, you taught us how to create an object with the reference. And that girl was telling me, I understood what is reference, what is constructor, everything. But what is the way to check whether object is really created or not in the heap memory? I started answering, right? I started answering that when you say object, when you use this reference, this is called reference, correct? No, this is called reference. When you create a reference, when you create the reference, you start printing that reference, right? There is a way to print. There is a way to print. You start printing it. When you print it, if an object is created, it prints the object identity in this way. It prints an object identity in this way. Class name @ 10C. That is, it prints this object identity. If an object is not really created, then it prints null. This is the way to check it out. Okay. Oh, okay, cool. So many things we learned in today's session. Good, good. According to me, we are in a good pace. So, guys, uh, Okay, Allu Arjun is asking me, Allu Arjun stylish star. He's my favorite actor in Telugu. Allu Arjun, most favorite actor for me in Telugu. Wonderful, wonderful dance, one style, super match. I watched a movie called DJ. Amazing fight, DJ. Super fight. Pravas, okay, I don't know. I don't want to comment and see. Okay, now it will lead to a different. It's personal liking, yeah. The most favorite hero in Telugu is Allu Arjun. Most favorite heroine for me is that girl, no? Yami Gautam. Yeah. Okay, thank you.